You have nothing right.
I now call this meeting of the Lafayette Public Utilities Authority to order. We welcome you to the LPUA meeting. We, as your representatives on the LPUA, welcome your involvement and encourage your participation. This meeting is a public hearing. If you wish to address the LPUA on any item on the agenda, please fill out a blue Request to Address the LPUA form, noting the agenda item number. That blue form is available to you in the foyer, and you should submit it to the Council Clerk, Ms. Veronica Williams, seated to my left in the middle, prior to the call of the agenda item. It's important to fill in the blue form completely and note the specific agenda item number about which you wish to speak. If the card is not legible to the clerk, you will not be given the opportunity to speak. If you have materials you wish to submit to the LPUA, please give those to Ms. Williams along with your blue form. In an effort to allow everyone an opportunity to be heard, the 5-minute rule will be in effect. Speakers shall refrain from debating, personal attacks, and from making confrontational or derogatory comments. I'm requesting that the first row to my left be used for media only. Food and drinks are not allowed in the auditorium, and all phones and electronic devices shall be silenced from this point forward. I'm also requesting that anyone who approaches the LPUA state their name and the title for the official record. Meeting procedures are by resolution and not by Robert's Rules of Order. Documents, including agendas, ordinances, resolutions, and minutes related to this and other meetings, are posted online at LafayetteLA.gov, or you may refer to the web address on the top of the agenda. I have a couple of announcements. Councilman Kenneth Boudreau is unable to make the meeting of the LPUA. He will be joining us later for our other meetings that we have scheduled for this afternoon. On item number 4, resolution 013-2017 relative to out-of-city utility services at 1437 Hugh Wallace Road South. Councilmember Cook has requested an amendment to add language to Section 2, which will limit the time frame to 1 year. And that will, okay. And I've just been informed she has another amendment. We'll address that at the appropriate time. Those are the only comments from the LPUA chair. Anything from the LPUA membership? Mayor President's report, Mr. Duyon. All right, sir, thank you. Before we go into the agenda items, just a reminder that this is a public hearing and blue sheets are available to anyone willing to address or wishing to address the LPUA. The 5-minute rule does apply. Jeremy, would you read the resolution, please?
Resolution 13, 2017 LPUA. A resolution of the Lafayette Public Utilities Authority approving the extension of water and sewer services outside of the corporate limits of the City of Lafayette in accordance with Ordinance 30, 2015 LPUA 1437 Hugh Wallace Road South.
Motion, please. Motion by Ms. Hebert, seconded by Mr. Lewis. We do have a proposed amendment to add language to Section 2 to limit the time frame to 1 year, and then Council Member Cook may have an additional amendment. Nanette?
Yes, I would ask for Mr. Escott to help me out with that additional language. We are asking for just for the year, but we're also asking that it not begin until the actual trailer, the office is on the property. So we're just asking for a little delay in the actual service to begin. So
with the commencement of service.
Well, I can provide you with the language of the amendment that would accomplish that. It would be strictly one amendment that is inclusive of those two concepts. In Section 2, after the word approved, there currently is a period. That period would be removed, and the following phrase would be added to that sentence, which reads, for a period of 1 year, and then period, and then an additional sentence would be added to Section 2 that reads, the 1 year approval period shall commence on the 30th calendar day following the date of adoption of this resolution, and, comma, upon the passage of 1 year, comma, shall automatically terminate, period.
That is the amendment as read by legal. Are you submitting that as an amendment?
Yes.
Councilmember Cook submits that as an amendment. Councilmember Hebert provides a second. So before we do a vote on the amendment, do we have any blue cards for an opportunity to address the amendment?
No, sir.
All right, then let's vote on the amendment first, please.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
we do have one amendment, one blue card. Alden LeBlanc? Okay, yeah, because he has Resolution 13, but then he has an abandonment. So that's where, too, I got, so you want the abandonment, you want to speak on the abandonment? Let's,
Do you wish to address 11 dash?
Roy Estates? States,
Yes,
right,
sir.
that's the next
That'll
one.
be the ordinance coming up.
Okay.
All right, so we have no blue cards on the amendment for the resolution, and let's call for the vote, please.
District 3,
Yes.
District 6,
Yes,
District 7,
Yes.
District 8.
Yes.
Motion to amend is approved.
we have a resolution amended. Do we have any blue cards on that? All right, let's call for the vote, please.
District 3,
Yes.
District 6,
Yes,
District 7,
Yes.
District 8.
Yes.
Motion to adopt as amended is approved.
Jeremy, if you would read the ordinance for final adoption, please.
Ordinance 11, 2017 LPUA, an ordinance of the Lafayette Public Utilities Authority providing for the abandonment of a portion of a utility easement on Lot 6A in Phase A of Extension 3 of Roy Estates and on Lot 28A in Block Number 3 of Roy Estates Incorporated, having municipal addresses of 305 Toledo Drive and 154 Banks Avenue respectively.
Amendment, motion, please. Motion by Ms. Hebert, second by Ms. Cook. Any LPUA discussion? Any blue cards? Your turn, sir.
Alden LeBlanc.
Okay, so you're here just to answer question. Okay, thank you, sir.
And he did sign in support. of
In
the
support.
ordinance.
Let's call for a vote on the adoption of the ordinance, please.
District 6,
Yes,
District 7,
Yes.
District 8,
Yes.
District 3.
Yes.
Motion to adopt is approved.
next up on the agenda is the director's report. Mr. Huval, do you have something for the LPUA?
Yes, this is Terry Huval, Director of Utilities. Have a little presentation to provide to you here. I know that in recent times there's been some discussion about the future of LUS generation. And so I've got a short PowerPoint I want to share with you as the issues that we're looking towards as we prepare for the future. The purpose is, I guess, as you may know, a number of you have received some emails from interested constituents about the future of LUS generation. It appears there's been maybe about 24 such emails that have taken place with a lot of the identical wording. So it was a concerted effort to try and get that message out there. And what I want to try to do is to provide some information about what it is that we are doing as well as our recommendations for future electrical generation. There's three basic issues that have come up in those emails. One is that there's been some opposition to the budget item that this council and LPUA actually passed last year that includes building new generation in the city of Lafayette to the tune of $120 million. There's some concern that although it's recognized that our rates for residential customers are low, that maybe our commercial rates are high, and I'll explain more about that. And the third item has to do with demand for more renewables into the city. So let's talk about the $120 million for generation. So we came to the LPUA and council last year during budget time and said it was time for us to begin looking for the future and building additional generation units. The council and LPUA approved our budget for $120 million for that, for those installations. About $26 million, that is what it's going to take down the old Doc Benny power plant on Walker Road, and plus the engineering costs $94 million was going to cost to put in the new generators that we'd be proposing. Looking at 72 megawatts of generation. So just by comparison, the overall city of Lafayette's peak is somewhere around 475 megawatts. So that's give you a perspective on that. You might recall that we've been involved in this entity called MISO, which is the Mid-Continent Independent System Operator. This is the entity which allows us to be able to buy the lowest cost power from a reliability perspective also. It's been very beneficial to the city of Lafayette. A key phrase I have in that line has to do with capacity, is that we have to have adequate capacity to serve the load. So basically you have to have skin in the game if you're going to be part of MISO. You can't just say we want to buy the cheapest power you have and not be able to offer some generation, sufficient generation to cover your load. We're purchasing about 73 megawatts of capacity today to meet MISO requirements, but projections are is that that's going to increase down the road, because what we're doing is we're actually purchasing or renting capacity from other generation units that have capacity available. So it keeps us from having to make an investment in building our own generation, but we have to pay whatever the market is for that power, for that capacity. And if we don't do that, then we fail to meet our obligations to MISO. We want to construct natural gas units before the capacity prices escalate. The predictions are down the road, projections are down the road that there's going to be less of that available capacity out there, so we want to be sure that we take advantage of the cheap capacity while it's available, but before the price gets up too high to install our own generation instead. The EPA has suspended the Clean Power Plan, which would have shut down every coal plant in the country, therefore creating that situation where you might not have enough capacity to buy off on the grid. And so with the Clean Power Plan no longer at our doorstep, the urgency to build a new generation is not as great as it was before. And so we're not moving forward with the units yet, but at some point we do believe we're going to move forward with it. And we have so many other projects in our capital fund that we're just going to devote our resources to those capital projects and then come back to you when it's time for us to move forward with the generation. Our commercial rates, commercial rates are a lot more complicated than residential because you're dealing with a broader perspective as to how people or how businesses use electricity. Some of them might be 24-hour around-the-clock operations. Some of them might be just 8 to 5. So the calculation of the rates takes a different structure. You know, if you looked at industrial complexes like Baton Rouge and Lake Charles, that's a whole different type of rate structure as compared to, let's say, serving just a simple, sewer lift station. There's a number of variables that can affect commercial rates. And just to give you a perspective, because there's been some numbers thrown around as to how our commercial rates rank, and this is the latest data that we have available to us, is Lake Charles and Baton Rouge, which is Entergy, served by Entergy. Their commercial rates are about 7.5 cents a kilowatt hour. LUS is next at about 8.3 cents per kilowatt hour. Clicquot 9.6, Shreveport at about 9.7, Alexandria at about 10.02, and New Orleans at 10.31. So as you can see, we rank quite favorably in our rates to our commercial customers in the community. But one thing that's even more important than rates to commercial customers is reliability. They're very concerned about any disruption in power and service, because while a residential customer might be adversely impacted, obviously, if the lights go out, if you have a commercial customer that's out, that means his business is closed. Our electric reliability has been the best in the state for multiple years, passing the same thing here as far as how many outages we incur and as well as how fast we restore the power. This means that those businesses can be more secure about being able to provide the services that they provide to their customers. According to a calculator, it's a national recognized calculator on determining the value of reliability, our customers in the city of Lafayette as a whole are benefiting to the tune of some $90 million, most of that being the impact of businesses. If a business shuts down, as I indicated earlier, they lose revenue, so that's a big chunk of that. So system reliability is a huge component. Okay, then the next question was, should we move to renewable energy? As I indicated, we had joined MISO. That was in 2013. The local environmental groups seemed to be not in support of that. We thought it was a good move because it would save us money and provide better reliability. And by 2015, our rates dropped by 11%. So certainly that was a very good move for our community. 14% of the current MISO production coming on their system is renewable. The MISO's cost to LUS is about 3.2 cents a kilowatt hour. That's an important base point for the rest of this slide, because we've tried to price more for solar to see what if we bought solar, how much would it cost us? Well, in 2016, last year, it had been 5.5 cents a kilowatt hour, so it had been more expensive than what we're buying from MISO now, which means our customers would pay more if we went with solar. It's dropped down to 4.4 cents in 2017. That's certainly a very positive sign, but still not as low as what we're getting from buying from MISO directly, because it's basically 37% more than what we're paying today. So if we bought more solar energy today, all of our customers would be paying more. And the perspective I get from customers as well as elected officials is that we want to try and keep our rates as low as possible and still keeping reliability high. The popularity of rooftop solar in Lafayette has really faded. We had some discussion about that last year, as you might recall. At one time, it was subsidized quite heavily by the state and federal government, to the tune of 50% by the state, 30% by the federal government, and a total subsidy of 80%. That meant if someone put a $25,000 rooftop solar unit on their home, that they would end up getting $20,000 back from the government, and they'd be putting up $5,000 themselves. Louisiana has actually eliminated its generous 50% solar contribution to this because of the issues related to the state budget. And the number of new solar installations has plummeted, suggesting that a major driver for the popularity of this program was the subsidies being provided. And we have, just to give you an idea, we have 260 customers with rooftop solar out of our total of 67,000 customers. So that's 0.4% of our customers have rooftop solar. And you can see how the numbers have started climbing, and then now they've dropped down because those subsidies are going away. So 260 customers, and this year so far we only have 2 new customers on rooftop solar. Lincoln, Nebraska has been held up as a model of a community that's made some moves towards renewables. We're very close to the people in Lincoln because we actually have been together on Capitol Hill fighting for rail transportation issues related to our coal business. Some have suggested that Lincoln's system has reduced their rates even after heavily investing in renewables. Once we've looked at the comparisons, that's not true. It turns out that our rates are still cheaper than what Lincoln has with their renewables. They had more dependency on coal than Lafayette, but they recently were able to sell part of one of their ownership in one of their coal units to another entity that was wanting to use it for other purposes. So that way, Lincoln kind of came up with a pretty good deal where someone was willing to buy it at a fair price. Even after that sale, Lincoln's generation portfolio is evenly divided between coal, natural gas, and renewables, while our dependence on coal is about 39%. So certainly, Lincoln has more renewables, but from their coal perspective, it's very close to where we are. And one key point, the Rotormaker plant, the coal plant, provides us with 242 megawatts of capacity for MISO. Remember, I indicated earlier, it's very important to be part of MISO. We have to have adequate capacity. We've got to have our skin in the game. So therefore, that's almost half the capacity that we need to be able to retain the benefits of low MISO energy. So the important part of this here is that we're using the coal unit only enough to where it can keep it stable, keep it operating, because it helps us in keeping our rates low to our customers through the arrangement we have with MISO. Lincoln actually did a survey of its customers to gauge their interest in a community solar program. They had about 50% of the respondents indicate they were willing to pay $1 or more per month to incorporate additional renewables resources in Lincoln. As it turned out, only a very small portion of their customers actually participated in their community solar program. More than half of the 1,200 participants were residential customers, and proportionally that would equal to about 335 LUS residential customers, which is not much more than 260 that we have on rooftop solar today. So the point is that there are people that are interested in renewables, but only to the extent that it's not going to cost them anymore. If it's going to cost them more, then their interest starts to wane. And there's some good reasons to be really careful when you're dealing with renewable energy. California has the most installed utility-scale solar capacity in the U.S. In fact, they have more solar than the rest of the top 10 combined. So if you look at 2 through 10 of the largest states with the largest amount of solar, California has more than 2 through 10. California's average rate is 19 cents a kilowatt hour, which is more than twice what we charge to our customers here in Lafayette. In Los Angeles, their bill is about $183 versus ours is $89 a month for the same amount of electricity. And their reliability is 5 times longer than Lafayette. So that means that when there's an outage that occurs, it lasts 5 times longer than an outage occurs here, and their outages occur 37% more often than LUS. So those are important factors to consider as we're making these decisions going down the road. Also, twice this past summer, California has issued a statewide flex alert due to heat wave. They've asked their customers to reduce their air conditioning during the afternoons when it's hot. I expect that probably would be very popular in Lafayette if we did that. And so it's an important thing to recognize that when you're dealing with renewable energy, then the degree of how much reliability you can have on that is less than having a regular generation unit. But look, we are listening. We are owned by the city of Lafayette, and our customers are the people who live in the city of Lafayette, the businesses live in the city of Lafayette. We have a tradition of bringing the best experts out to help us. We don't try to invent this ourselves. Obviously, we have some very qualified engineers working for us, but we're not in the game of dealing with generation every day. So we bring in world-renowned experts to work with us on trying to make the best decisions for the future. And these experts are the same guys that have done some work in helping other states and other cities with more renewables. So it's not that they're tainted in one way or the other. They're just looking at what's the best fit for the community. We understand there's some concerned citizens that want to see more renewables, but we also want to be sure that we think about the other citizens whose biggest concern is keeping low rates and high reliability. We want to reach out to the broader community to receive a comprehensive input concerning renewables. We want to really get a sense. We're going to do some things to get a sense as to what the consumers want based on real poll data that's done in a scientific way, not just something that's done through some type of social media. And even with the project, with this generation project in the approved budget, we're not going to move forward with construction of these plants without having additional action by LPUA and council anyway. We're going to have to borrow money to build these plants, so we have to come back to you anyway. So there's a lot of opportunity for further discussion on this. So I appreciate your attention to this and gives you a perspective as to what we're dealing with here, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, sir. Any questions from the LPUA membership? Mr. Lewis.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Yuval, that $120 million, that's including the demolition of that old power plant on Walker Road?
That includes that, yes, sir.
So it's all together?
It's all together,
and
yes,
so
sir.
all the emails I'm getting about $120 million.
Yeah. Yeah, about $94 million is actually to build a new plant, and the rest of it is for the cost of demolishing the old equipment on Walker Road and the old Doc Bonaire plant, and the engineering that's necessary to put all this together.
Okay, thank you.
No other questions from the LPUA membership. Mr. Huval, will you provide this presentation to all of the members of the council?
I will. We have some
And would it also be possible to put that on the website?
Yes, we will do so.
Okay. With that being said, thank you, sir. And with nothing else on the agenda, this meeting is adjourned.